You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Good morning and welcome to the Voice of Charity. I'm Phil Zepeda, joining you here on the show from our studios at the Archdiocese of Chicago with my colleague, Katie Bredemann. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning, Phil.
We are so glad you've joined us this morning, those listening on WNDZ and all of those watching the live stream on YouTube at Catholic Chicago, which is the account for the Archdiocese of Chicago. We're glad you're with us today. We've got a very uplifting show for you today. Back in 2015, Pope Francis published a groundbreaking encyclical called Laudato Si on care for our common home. Through this publication, the Holy Father invited people around the world to connect with God more through nature, recognize all that life is interconnected, and become more active in caring for God's creation. In response to this encyclical, the Office of Human Dignity and Solidarity at the Archdiocese of Chicago created a Laudato Si working group that established materials and resources for parishioners to create their own gardens, following Pope Francis's lead in a tangible way as they learn how to become caretakers of creation. I love that, on their own parish campuses.
And on a related note, Catholic Charities Lake County regional offices started vegetable gardens last summer, 2 of them. And the bountiful crops that grew in these gardens were used to help supplement our food pantries in Round Lake and in Waukegan. This winter, Catholic Charities leaders in Lake County are taking this project to a new level by working with the Archdiocese of Chicago to let more people know about Laudato Si working group and expand the impact that the Lake County gardens are having in their community.
So with us to discuss these exciting new initiatives and a special event on March 1st, we're not going to forget that. We have an entire panel for you. We have Lisa Roti, Catholic Charities Lake County Regional Director. We have Gary Schiappacasse. I want to make sure that I get that.
Schiappacasse.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much, Gary. Glad to have you here.
You're welcome.
A Catholic Charities volunteer and leader of the Laudato Si Garden Ministry at St. Mary of Vernon Parish, the Laudato Si Garden Ministry at St. Mary of Vernon Parish in Vernon Hills. That's a mouthful. and Kathy Felice, another generous Catholic Charities volunteer at the St. Mary of Vernon, parishioner and a master gardener with the University of Illinois Extension Campus. It's a full panel. We got a lot to talk about. Welcome, Lisa, Gary, and Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil and Katie, for having us.
Absolutely. Lisa, we're gonna be very deliberate in calling you guys out, so who's answering the questions so that you know. Let's start with you, Lisa. So we're gonna get to talking about the special event, but first, start off by telling our audience about the 2 gardens that were built on the 2 campuses last year. How much produce did they yield for the Waukegan and Round Lake pantries? Those types of ground-setting elements. Share that with us.
Sure. The Waukegan campus, 671 South Lewis Avenue, has, probably about 20 or so raised beds. And we've had them on that campus for at least 8 years. So the new project is Round Lake. And in Waukegan, we've raised lettuce and tomatillos and jalapenos and tomatoes and green peppers. And we've added to the garden, we had a Boy Scout troop or person come in to do his Eagle project. And he did a Mary grotto in the back of our garden. So now we have a Mary garden. And in fact, this year, Kathy Felice is going to be improving on the Mary garden to put more flowers in there so it will flower throughout the whole growing season. And we have a bench back there for reflection and prayer. So it's really a community space, and staff use it during lunch in the summers. And the produce that we have produce probably a couple 100 pounds, which, like has been mentioned, it's been given out through the food pantries and used in our suppers. The lettuce and the tomatoes and the zucchinis are all cooked up in our Round Lake office, which we have a professional kitchen, and we offer a community meal every Monday and Wednesday. And so the Round Lake Garden is new. It's in its second year, and Gary and Kathy have greatly expanded the garden in Round Lake, and we're looking for volunteers at both locations.
Gary and Kathy, we're so grateful for all of your volunteer efforts on behalf of Catholic Charities and the people we serve. It sure sounds like you have taken this to a great new level to make sure that there's this produce for our food pantries, but also, as Lisa said, these wonderful new spaces for people to find spiritual growth as well. And Lisa, I know you also participated recently in the 2023 Seed Expo in Lake County. Can you tell us how the two produce gardens kind of relate to your participation in that expo?
Sure. This was a great collaboration with Kathy Felice being part of the Master Gardeners at the U of I Extension campus. They actually needed some rectangle tables to be able to accommodate over 1,000 people who were coming to this event. So Catholic Charities fulfilled that need by bringing over 20 of our rectangle tables, and the Round Lake Civic Center and the Master Gardeners and some other partners allowed Catholic Charities to have a table there to pass out information about volunteering at our garden, learning about our different programs, learning about the special event and movie that will happen at March 1st. So I met a whole bunch of different people. People would stop by the table and say, this is the best charity group that I know. They helped my mother. They helped my uncle. And so it's just really fulfilling to work at Catholic Charities and work at these events and be part of the community. And I thank Kathy Felice for helping me get involved in the Seed Expo.
That's really beautiful, and I'm smiling ear to ear because you certainly, your enthusiasm and excitement about that emotion that's captured is so incredibly important. You mentioned, and I also mentioned the March 1st event. Talk to us a little bit more about what's happening there to bring more visibility to the Lake County Gardens in Laudato Si.
So, gardening is great, and we love our garden to be able to produce fresh produce and give it out. But there's more to the Laudato Si and the Care for Creation. So we are going to show a documentary that was created by Pope Francis in collaboration with others in our Round Lake office on Wednesday, March 1st from 6 to 7. And we're hoping that people will join us for a free dinner starting at 6. And the dinner is always good. We have a volunteer group that comes in and makes fresh soup every Wednesday. So expect to get fresh soup, salad, and bread. And we hope that people will learn from the movie how about the Care for Creation is about caring for our earth and gardening and producing good food, but also caring for our neighbor. Because at the end of the day, no matter who is in need, we all need to see that person as our brother and sister in Christ and help them wherever they may be. So we are collaborating with the Archdiocese of Chicago and having someone come in and lead a discussion questions after this. And I know Gary and Kathy put this same movie on at their parish. So I think the intent is to be able to put these seeds at every parish and grow the seed of hope through gardening and learning about ourselves, God, and each other.
That's beautiful, and that certainly comes through. And I want to get into that a little bit more with Gary. So Gary is the leader at St. Mary in Vernon Hills. Can you describe a little bit more in greater detail the goals of the Laudato Si program, the encyclical, and the practical and spiritual points of view that our listeners can really seize upon?
Well, the basic of Laudato Si is that the way we care for our earth affects all the human beings on earth and the quality of life. And so what's been put together through the Laudato Si action platform our 7 goals: response to the cry of the earth, response to the cry of the poor, ecological economics, adoption of sustainable lifestyles, ecological education, ecological spirituality, community engagement, and participatory action. And of course, the center is response to the cry of the earth. And the object is to engage people around the world, not just here in the city of Chicago or in northern Illinois, in affecting change in those areas. And there are short-term goals. This is considered to be a 7-year process. And then I've been part of the encyclical working group at the Chicago Archdiocese for, I can't tell you how long, 6 or 7 years. So this has slowly evolved into the format that you see today. And we encourage not only parishes, but families and individuals and people from all faiths to get engaged in this. As Pope Francis would say, this is a worldwide effort for everyone to improve the quality of life for everyone.
And we've been learning more, Gary, about this whole Laudato Si program. I just want to share with our audience that if people want to learn about the Archdiocesan objectives for this program, they can go to archchicago.org and put in Laudato Si.
And specifically type in Care for Creation. So if you Google, I just did the Chicago Archdiocese Care for Creation, it'll come right to the Care for Creation page. And if you scroll down under Care, thank you, I'm stepping on your line.
Not
sorry.
at all.
If you scroll down the Care for Creation page, you'll find Laudato Si Gardens. And the cool part about Laudato Si Gardens, because I'm on that Archdiocese committee also, we meet every other week, are links to a webinar that we put together a couple of years ago that go into the different forms of gardening. And it takes you from where you're at with your gardening skills. So it might be that in your organization or you personally are just interested in getting started, the webinar addresses that. And then if you've already got something going, it addresses that. We give examples of places in the city of Chicago that have gardens going and experts to share that with people. And then the Laudato Si Garden Committee, the Archdiocese Committee, we're always looking for additional Catholic parishes to engage with. Currently, the work in Lake County focuses primarily on Catholic charities, though we're also at Most Blessed Trinity. Kathy Felice and I have been helping them with their gardens. And in the city, I can't tell you what the last Catholic parish is. I know that we're looking at a parish on the south side that's, I can't think of the name of the parish, that's already got a Laudato Si or a garden going. I've been out at St. James on the south side. And currently we're actually working with Assembly of God Church, helping them with the drainage problem they have in the Lawndale neighborhood. So we're pretty much everywhere, and I even have a Lutheran church in Waukegan that's asked for help.
So look at what's happened, Gary,
yes.
from the seeds that you've planted across the Archdiocese. We thank you so much for all your service over the past, would you say, 6-7 years? It's amazing how much has been accomplished in that time. We are going to take a break in a little bit, but I wanted to see if you could please share a little bit about the garden that you helped create at St. Mary of Vernon in Vernon Hills.
Oh. So I tell people that we have the greatest parish grounds in the entire Archdiocese. And if you've been to different sites, you'll understand that we're not trapped with a lot of parking lots and a lot of old buildings. We have 17 acres. And as you already know, it started with my son's Eagle project. We bought some property along Route 45 that needed to be developed. And once we got done with clearing and I stayed longer than my son, he got his 100 hours and left. And yes, so much for Eagle projects. And then it involved moving a heck of a lot of buckthorn off of that property. We won't talk about the random burns that I did with some of the buckthorn. And since then, we've developed a trail system around the entire property. with the help of Eagle Scouts and Mike Lawler, are almost, what do we call him? What do we give him, Kathy? He's not an officially a master gardener. He's a wannabe. Do we give him a wannabe rating?
Okay, that's good.
And he's planted over 1,000 native plants on the grounds. We're now recognized by the National Wildlife Association as one of those sites. You can travel the grounds thanks to Mike Lawler and the Eagle Scout. We have signs about the property with photographs of the native plants. We also have, with the initiation of our current pastor, Father Ignatius, we added a Stations of Cross that goes through the woods on the north part of the property. And just for the heck of it, I had another Eagle Scout project that is a prayer labyrinth. So we truly have sacred grounds at St. Mary of Vernon. I like to tell people that our church is a 24-hour church. The doors are never closed. It's always open. And I hope people come to visit because it's a beautiful site.
That's really quite beautiful. We're going to throw it to break. There's going to be more. And Kathy, we're coming back to you, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Voice of Charity. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program has assisted thousands of single parents who are working to become more self-sufficient through education and employment opportunities. Our experienced case managers accompany participants for up to 5 years on their journey to identify, address, and break down barriers to improving their quality of life and achieving meaningful goals for themselves and for their families. Professional, compassionate assistance is offered in a safe and trusting environment as participants develop the skills needed to become financially stable and able to support themselves. Every achievement starts with a decision to try. To learn more about Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program, call 847-782-4233 or visit CatholicCharities.net.
Make a difference every day by working in Archdiocese of Chicago schools, parishes, and ministries. Join us at our career fair on Saturday, February 25th in downtown Chicago. We are hiring full and part-time positions for roles from teaching to finance, administration to pastoral care throughout Cook and Lake counties. If you have recently graduated or are exploring a job change, serve your community and build your career with the Arch. Find more information at archchicago.org.
Community is core to Catholic Charities' founding mission. For more than 100 years, we have met people and families where they are, serving anyone in need, regardless of their faith, gender, race, or ethnicity. As our world absorbs the economic, political, and social aftershocks of the pandemic, 50% or more of the 6 million people living in Cook and Lake counties have little or no savings. They are a paycheck away from zero. We are deeply grateful to everyone in the Catholic Charities community who partners with us to alleviate the suffering of the people we serve and offer them a better path forward. We are witnessing a message of mercy and hope to a world very much in need. Learn more at CatholicCharities.net.
Welcome back to the Voice of Charity. I'm Phil Zepeda here with Katie Bredemann. We are talking to some wonderful Lake County Catholic Charities volunteers and a program administrator up there. So welcome back to this wonderful conversation about the Laudato Si program and gardening and its alignment with faith. So Kathy Felice, a guest, thanks for been standing by patiently as we've gotten questions to Lisa and Gary. But I want to talk to you more about your training. So you're a trained horticulturist who earned the credential of becoming a master gardener with the University of Illinois Extension Campus. How long have you been involved in gardening, and what do you enjoy most about it?
I have been involved in gardening since I was a little kid. My parents were farming communities, and they instilled in me a love of gardening. We grew up on 7 acres. I had a woods, we had a pond, we had meadows, and in that I learned, to identify birds and plants and butterflies and insects. And I've just always enjoyed it. And in working with my parents in the vegetable garden and my mom's flower garden, some of that information just all trickled in and stuck. And in 1999, I became a master gardener. Um, I don't know that I would call myself a horticulturist. I don't have a degree in horticulture. As a master gardener, we go through 60 hours of training and we have continuing education. And we learn about plant disease. We learned about insects. We learned about soil and how to grow better vegetables and flowers and how to care for trees and the whole broad spectrum. And that's the purpose of the Master Gardener program, is to help people by learning how to grow.
We're so grateful for all the time that you volunteer with Catholic Charities, Kathy. I'm wondering if you can share a little bit with us about how you first got involved with Catholic Charities and the Laudato Si garden at St. Mary of Vernon.
I kind of came in the back end. Gary needed help. He asked me if I could help him out, and that was the end of the story. I've been with it ever since. And it just snowballs. So it's been through Gary that I got involved.
So, Kathy, a little bit more. I'd love your take on this, on the participants within the Laudato Si program. So, when it operates in a parish, it's an opportunity to engage parishioners of all ages, right? Even young people, even more in parish life. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. After I retired, or maybe even before it, I started we have 17 acres, like Gary said, and probably on that ground, there's 50 areas, I'm going to call them beds, that need to be tended to. And I started a program called Adopt a Garden. And what we do is we have people adopt these areas, and it's up to them to take care of them. If they need help, I'm willing to help them. If they need, have questions, I'm there to answer it. And of those 50 beds, we have 38 of them adopted. And, it snowballs. After I did that, I wanted to start a program called Adopt a Tree, which we'll drop that. It didn't go. But what happened is I got a group of volunteers together. They were called the Buckthorn Go-Getters, and we cleared out a large section of the woods of buckthorns. We dug them all out by roots, got rid of all the buckthorns and the hawthorn. What are those? Honeysuckles. And, I didn't have a vision when I started it, but when we were done, it just wowed me. It was so beautiful. It's park-like.
That's charming.
And then because of that, they thanked us by giving us a new section to do.
Yeah, like that your success breeds more opportunity, which is wonderful. Are you seeing an opportunity for people to tap in, to tap out, to really commit themselves? Talk about like what the volunteer time commitment is, because I assume you're tending to this nature and these gardens. It probably varies, but I'd love your take on the commitment.
It does. And some of the beds are some that people could come maybe once or twice during the season and they're done. And maybe that's all the time they have. Some of the other beds are more intensive and you may have to come and work for a couple hours a week. It just depends on how much time they have to put into it.
Makes sense.
I kind of tell them what, we'd like to have there. And then from them, it's their vision of what they want to do with it. Within certain restrictions. But one of the next projects that I'm going to work on this summer is the vegetable garden. It's been adopted, but it hasn't been tended to the way it should, and it hasn't been producing well. So this year I'm going to work with the teens on the vegetable garden. They've adopted that, and we're going to see if we can produce more stuff for the Sharing Hands Food Pantry.
And Kathy, and then I'd actually also like to ask Gary the same question. What would anybody who's watching the show today, if they're in their parish and they're contemplating possibly looking into this Laudato Si garden project, what are the things they should be asking themselves about starting a garden in their own parish campus?
Well, you got to start small. Don't go out there trying to convert the grounds to where we're at with St. Mary of Vernon. That took close to 20 years to get where we are at today. And pick your area, make it a small project, and you'll find it'll grow as people get engaged. Their friends will tell their friends. In the case of St. Mary of Vernon, of course, they'll see the grounds, and we'll promote it perhaps in a bulletin or at a job fair kind of setting. And you'll find that there are people that want to get out and do something. And this is an easy one. This is not a committee meeting or taking lots of classes. This is just you in the dirt and nature. And the fun part about working outdoors is you really do get away from all the pressures of your daily life. So that helps, makes it appealing. And there's different skill sets based on what you're trying to do on the property. So in my case, I spent a lot of time with what we call the landscaping committee, and these are the people that mow the grass and weed whack and do those kind of week-to-week chores. And then it actually helps to grow your community spirit because there's that interaction. You don't have to go to a committee meeting to talk to people. And in the case of the Catholic Charities Garden, I don't know. I blame a guy at our parish. His name's Jim Wogan, and apparently he shared my name with Lisa. And before I knew it, I was working on more than the 17 acres at St. Mary of Vernon. I was up at the Round Lake Catholic Charities site, and it helped that being on the Laudato Si Garden Committee, which, by the way, anybody that's interested in advice and consulting, our garden committee actually has people with some really good backgrounds. We have a master gardener on our committee. We have the head of the environmental department at DePaul on our committee, another lady that works for the Forest Reserve, and will help. You'll notice the stones on the Waukegan Catholic Charities Garden. I didn't get any credit for bringing the stones from St. Mary of Vernon's Prayer Labyrinth over to Waukegan. And with the help of one of Lisa's people, we created some nice paths there.
Well, you're certainly doing just a really beautiful job of carrying through the spirit of Laudato Si through these gardens of all life being connected, and it's come through incredibly well in the stories that you've all shared with us and the history of the program. We're so grateful to have you as volunteer leaders within the organization. Again, we want to make sure that everyone is aware of of the program happening in Round Lake tomorrow, March 1st. Lisa, one more time, a little bit quickly as we're closing the show. How do people find out more information on that program?
Call me at 847-782-4116. Again, that's 847-782-4116. You can get more details, but it's Wednesday, March 1st, dinner, 6 p.m., movie during the dinner. Everything is completely free, and all are welcome and invited. 847-782-4116. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what she's not telling you is the Shriver Center is a marvelous brand new building. This is not one of those falling apart Catholic buildings. It's a great site for people to gather in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Gary and Kathy, for all you do in Lake County for Catholic Charities and those we serve. We're very grateful for you being on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we invite all of you back again next week for another edition of The Voice of Charity. For now, this is Katie Bredemann with Phil Zepeda, and we thank you so much for tuning in and believing in the mission of Catholic Charities.